In today's video, we're going to explore bow and arrow noise at the target. When I first thought of this experiment, I wanted to figure out how far I could ethically take a shot on a deer. Knowing and seeing a bunch of videos out there where very good archers have taken very good shots, but because of the distance and the sound of the bow going off or the sound of the arrow, the animal was able to move and either resulted in a less than desirable shot placement or a miss completely. So I wanted to really get into the point of view of the deer and what they see when you pull the bow back, what they see when the arrow is flying towards them, and what they hear, and what their experience is like when an arrow is shot at them. So, with those questions in mind, I decided to put together a little test. I utilized my GoPro Hero 10 with the media mod on a small tripod. I placed in front of the target, facing me. I shot at 15, 30, and 50 yards to get a general idea of what the viewpoint looked like and what the sound sounded like from those different ranges. And we'll review that footage. I have it in both full speed and quarter speed, so that you can kind of get a better idea of what the sound profile is like, both in real time and slowed down a little bit, so you can separate the bow, the arrow noise, and then the impact at the target. And it was pretty informative. So I hope you enjoy this footage and this testing. So, given that information, I feel pretty confident 100% with 15 yards. That's super easy. Bow goes off, arrow hits, it's very quick. There's no way for something to react that quickly in my mind. 30 yards, pretty similar. I could see a little bit of movement happening, but I don't feel like there would be enough time between when the bow goes off and the arrow hits for either of the arrows to hit their mark. At 50 yards, we're getting too far. I believe 50 yards, in my mind, for my skill level and the equipment that I have, 50 yards is too far for me. If you hear the bow go off, there is enough time to move substantially. We're talking about the vitals of a deer, the size of a pie plate, and you can definitely move that pie plate out of the way between when the bow goes off and when the arrow hits. So that's too far for me. So I'm going to limit myself to 40-yard shots. 40 yards and in is an acceptable distance. And at 40 yards, that acceptable distance is only if the animal doesn't know I'm there, which means I need to be careful about attempting to stop the deer with a noise. So a lot of hunters will make a noise to stop the deer in a certain place so they can take their shot. In my mind, I would prefer the deer stop on their own for a 40-yard shot. Now, I could see at 20, 30 yards making a noise because, again, the time between when the bow goes off, the arrow flight time, to the target is not long enough for it to matter. But anything beyond 30 yards, in my mind, you need to be careful. And obviously, the weight of your arrow matters in these instances, right? So these FMJs are somewhere, I'll weigh them in a minute, but I believe they're around 475 grains. And they're traveling substantially slower than, say, these Easton Sonic 6.0 arrows. And this is somewhere, I think, in the high 300s for weight. So we'll weigh both of these in a minute to get the exact weights, but first up we've got the Easton Sonic 6.0 high velocity. This is a 300 spine, cut at 29 inches with 100 with the stock insert and the 100 grain field points. We're at 405. Again, this is the Easton Sonic 6.0 high velocity, cut at 29 inches, stock grains. And then we've got the Easton 5mm FMJ full metal jacket with the stock inserts that come with these. This is also cut at 29 inches with 100 grain field point in there. So we're at 472 grains. And with the nocturnal knock, we're at 491. So I intend on using the nocturnal knocks for hunting, so that will be my hunting weight for my arrow. I do think that the noise between these two is a little bit different. This has the Blazer bully vanes, and they're a little bit harder than the regular Blazer vanes. These are like a vinyl, like a flexible vinyl. I think these are quieter. Keep in mind that these do not have any like helical or anything. These have a factory helical out of the box, so that's something to keep in mind. I think these, maybe the flight is a little bit noisier, but they're moving so fast. They're moving so much faster than these FMJs that they hit the target quicker. So the flight of the arrow, the flight time of the arrow is less. So maybe that doesn't matter as much. I do think the bow is a little quieter shooting the heavier arrows, but I think that flight time is something that's really important that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about. It seems like the trend of these days is to get a heavier and heavier arrow, and although that might be great for penetration, it's not going to be good for your flight time, and you need to adjust your acceptable shots accordingly. So, in conclusion, I'm not taking shots beyond 40 yards. If I'm taking a 40-yard shot, the deer's not going to know I'm there. I will not be making noise to stop them. I want them either head down or looking away from me, preferably ears not facing me. And that's my plan. That's what I got out of this test. I hope you got something out of this test and would consider running your own test however you see fit. I know that there are plenty of archers out there that have taken longer shots and been successful, but there are also many others that took long shots and had less than desirable outcomes. So in my mind, having a less than desirable shot and the animal suffering is, I want to limit the risk of that as much as possible. And I know that things happen in hunting, but I'm going to stack the deck in my favor as much as possible. And I hope you do the same. Thanks for watching. Check out the links in the description for the gear that I'm using, the arrows, field points, the nocks, the filming gear that I'm using right now. There's links in the description for all of that stuff. And please consider purchasing through those links. I do get a kickback from Amazon for every purchase. And that's going to help support the channel and help me grow and test more gear and bring more content to you. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.